Hey footy fans, you ready for some more footy fun with Footy Fin? And look, I'm on tour this week, but want to give my a quick reflection on Bledisloe Game 1 and then look ahead, look at the teams and make a prediction for Bledisloe Game 2, which is also the final round of the Rugby Championship. Yeah, so the final score in Game 1, of course, was 31-28, won by New Zealand after they got away to a 21-0 lead after just 14 and a half minutes. The Wallabies were terrible in that first sort of quarter of the game or more. And look, much has been made of their comeback, and that was somewhat pleasing. And the final result was kind of a relief for most of us Wallabies fans, particularly given the first 15 minutes. But still, like, a hell of a lot to work on for Australia. Like, gaping holes in defence in the first half. It looked like every time the All Blacks shifted the ball out to the left, they were going to score. There were just errors aplenty, schoolboy errors, drop balls, turnovers in rucks. Not good enough. No support at times. Backs such as Tom Wright would make a break. They'd be without support. Players out of position. So thankfully, New Zealand, I think the Wallabies had a bad influence on New Zealand, and New Zealand got complacent as well and started to make a lot of errors. They left a lot of points out on the park, so that was relief for the Wallabies. What was also very disappointing for the Wallabies was that for a period of, 5 to 7 minutes in the second half, they had 15 against New Zealand's 13, and they couldn't score a single point in that time. So that's just not good enough at this level. New Zealand, on the other hand, they only scored 3 points in the last, 55 minutes of the game. Again, that'll be very worrying for the All Blacks and their supporters. Anyway, let's look at the teams. In terms of the Wallabies, they've made a few changes. Joe Schmidt has chopped and changed again with his scrum halves. So for reasons not really clear to me, he's dropped Nick White altogether from the 23 and he's brought back in Jake Gordon to start. Tate McDermott stays as reserve scrum half. Marika Koriambete injured. He had a pretty poor game anyway. Sadly, I think he's past his prime. Dylan Peach comes in for him. And onto the reserves bench comes Josh Fluke. Isaac Kalia comes in place of James Slipper at reserve prop. And Tom Liner is dropped off the bench and he's replaced by Ben Donaldson. Interestingly, Schmidt has stuck with his starting lock pairings of Frost and Williams. Frost, I think, had a pretty ordinary game. Williams, I think, did okay. But on the bench, there's a bit of steel there. So a couple of back rows, loose forwards, Lucan Salakia Lotto and Longy Gleeson, they came off the bench last week and did very well. Hopefully they'll do likewise this week. Brendan Painga Amosa stays on the bench as hooker as well. So a few interesting changes there. In terms of the All Blacks, they've made a few changes as well. This is something I would have expected to see earlier in the season, but after I think about 8 tests, Scott Robertson has finally put D-Mac back on the bench. He just hasn't really made that number 10 black jumper his own, in my view. So Beauden Barrett comes on to make a start at 10, rather than, this will be the first time him starting in that position since probably sometime last year. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Geordie Barrett's out injured. Anton Lienert-Brown starts in the centres with Ioane, and Havili comes on onto the bench in his place. Ratima's gone back to the bench and TJ Perenara is starting this one. It looks like it'll be his last home test in a black jumper. Likewise, Sam Cane, who's due to play his 100th test for the All Blacks. Well done to him. Likewise, his last test on home soil. So anyway, how's this going to go? Look, I said last week, I think this series will be one narrow win to the All Blacks and one big win to the All Blacks. If that rings true, then it's New Zealand are due for a big win, aren't they? And I wouldn't be surprised. We do see that with this All Blacks team. They tend to bounce back after those disappointing games. They've done it against, say, Ireland in the past. They've done it earlier this year against Argentina, where they lost one and then smashed them. On the other hand, the All Blacks don't have a great record in Wellington where the game's being played. I don't think they've won there since 2018 or 2019. They've lost 6 of their last 7 there, including the last 5, so not a happy hunting ground for them. But I really can't see the Wallabies winning this one. I'd love to see them win, but hey, yeah, look, I think the All Blacks are going to win this one. But hey, hopefully at least the Wallabies can be competitive, not show that sloppiness like they did in the first half of the game last week, and show more of that gritty fighting spirit that they did in the second half. That's it from me. Until next time, catch you at the back of a rolling ball. See ya.